All-In Factor podcast. I'm here with my co-host Sarah Savard, and I'm so excited to be ending season 3 of our podcast with a really fun Q&A episode for you guys. So what we decided is along the way is to ask our audience questions, to submit just anything you wanted us to dive into on this last episode. And so Sarah and I today are going to dive into your questions that you submitted to us personally and directly and answer your questions. So
this is so fun.
Yeah.
It's the first time doing this. So
Yes.
I'm excited to kind of get into these questions. There's some really good ones.
Yeah, and I'll just share with listeners, like, hang tight with us. Some of these are pretty practical, and then some are a little like, wow, that's actually a really good question. And we've had conversation of like preparing for this. What are we going to share? And we've just decided we're just going to be raw and authentic and just give you guys the real deal. So
Love it.
first question was from a team member on our team. An agent asked, what's the hardest part about being in real estate? You can only pick one thing.
So I thought about this one. I would say, honestly, it's probably the biggest thing that we see with agents. And it's probably something that I'm always struggling with sometimes when you're having to manage expectations, right? Mm-hmm. And I think that goes hand in hand. You know, managing the seller's expectation is typically, and buyers, right? Like it's not just, I'm thinking about sellers, but sellers' expectations are if they come up and they want a price that is unrealistic, you know, we have to let them know that, hey, that's not really a realistic number. Same with if the buyer's expectations are unrealistic, right? Like if they're wanting something, they want this $1 million home at a $500,000 budget. That's not realistic. And we're not going to go searching for that when it's unrealistic. So it's really trying to, I believe the hardest thing is really getting the buyer/seller to understand us and trust us so we can manage, hey, let's go and find what you need, or let's get your home listed at a price that is realistic. That would be my answer. I don't know if yours is.
I think that's a great answer. I think many agents would agree with that. Mine's very similar. My answer was the way that you have to articulate yourself and talk to your clients, being honest and direct and giving the harsh reality sometimes without losing that rapport. So same thing with managing expectations. You really have to be a master of like just craft of like, are you reading the room? Are you reading your person? Do you know your client's emotions? How do you, like you said, manage expectations? How do you deliver bad news? I think there's so much when it comes to working with people that being an agent, it's really hard to do. And every client is different.
I think those two go hand in hand together, right? Because you can't just tell them the harsh news that, hey, you have a champagne taste on a beer budget?
Yes.
You know, you have to be able to manage expectations and then be able to not, you know, offend somebody that's a delicate way. And some people, unfortunately, don't know how to do that. It's hard to teach that, right? They need to be able to talk kindly and respectfully, but also, and if they need to be direct, it's not so harsh. That's where sometimes agents can really misstep when they're sending via email or text. We've taught this a lot. Danielle's smiling because she knows that a text can come off, an email can come off, you know, not the same way as if you picked up the phone and had that conversation and was able to navigate their responses and make them understand and feel better.
Yes.
It's always the way to go. And maybe you follow up with an email, and that's what I always try to tell people, follow up with an email. But if it's hard news or you're having to get them to understand a certain way of doing something, it's really best by having that phone call.
Yeah. I love how the hardest part in real estate is not about contracts or about numbers or it's
or the house.
People. Yeah,
everybody thinks real estate's about the house.
Yes, it's so funny. All right, this is a lengthy question, but I'm going to read it all and then we'll give our answers. So agent on our team, an anonymous agent submitted, why do sellers insist on pricing their homes so much more than we advise them on? Then when there's no showings and no feedback, they get upset and they don't know what we are doing when now we have to go to them and ask them to lower their home price after the home has been sitting on the market and it's becoming stale. I would say that they are one-dimensional. They are looking at it as, I'm a homeowner. This is my equity. This is my home. there's a lot of pride and a sense of self-being and where you create memories. And so what I would encourage this agent is to remember that there's a story there. And so for me, why don't they understand is because they're looking at it only on I'm losing, right? So for me, a lot of the times when I'm having to explain why things aren't moving and there's no activity, and it does have to do with price and they don't understand, I have to bring them back to motivation. I have to bring them back to what they're gaining, not what they're losing. I think sometimes we lose sight of that and we just focus on market, data, no activity, do this, we have to drop price, and we are forgetting the story of what got them in this position to want to sell in the first place. I also would challenge any agent, if that's your situation and you don't have a seller that's willing to actually work with you on price, are you not setting proper expectations, and are you taking overpriced listings? Do they really actually need to sell? Because most of the time, those sellers will come around if we're able to truly show what are we doing to market your home. Here's what the market is telling us in response to being listed. You do have motivation to sell. We will actually get them there. I don't see homes not sell for many reasons unless they're not actually motivated. We took an overpriced listing and they just really had no drive to sell.
Yes. So I think that's great. I think also what comes to mind for me is, again, managing the expectations, being upfront from the beginning. Usually in that first listing appointment, you're talking comps, you're talking the data and where you think it should be, and listening to them. If they're saying a number that is unrealistic, or maybe it's not unrealistic, maybe it's an okay number, just a little high, I think the best thing to do in that situation, which we're constantly telling our agents, our listing specialists to do as well, is say, look, we'll start at this number, but let's agree now that we're going to reduce it after X amount of time, typically in this market, 30 days, and then reduce. But I think to really answer the question more is, why do sellers insist on pricing their home? I believe they're just like every other seller. They think their home is worth more, right? And they're also coming from a mindset from the COVID. It's not COVID times. They knew there was a lot of media around COVID. There was a lot of, they may have bought their home during COVID and think that the market is still that way and they can sell and buy at a high number, right? That's just not really the case anymore. There is equity. There's definitely people who have equity. That we're not in a market where people don't have equity. It's just being able to understand that this is a different market than it was 6 years ago. And so they need to understand they don't do this every day. So it's really us being able to, I think sometimes agents tend to they're going on lots of listing appointments maybe, or they're going on listing appointments not very much. And they're losing sight of, like you said, this is a personal home. They're proud of their home. And they believe that their ceiling fan is worth more than the house next door that's the same house. And because they added ceiling fans and put nicer cabinet touches on their, stuff like that, that isn't really going to make your house more, right?
Yes.
So sitting down and explaining, when I hear that, when I've heard that, hey, I did upgrades back when I bought the home 20 years ago. That's not really the same, right? You need more recent updates. And it's really just kind of talking to a seller who doesn't know the everyday thing. You have to expect that they don't do this every day. This is not something they do. And so them thinking that it's worth more is just them not knowing, right? Yep. And we're the pros, we're the specialists that are coming in to advise them that this is what it is. But I think we've all had better experience by setting the expectations correct from the beginning, that, hey, we're going to try your number if it's realistic. And after a certain amount of time, let's agree that we're going to at least have the discussion. We're going to drop, and here's my number in an email, so we can then go back and we're all on the same page that we did discuss it. The worst case that can happen is you don't manage the expectations, you don't advise them from the beginning, and now you don't have a leg to stand on.
So good.
So
good. Okay, we're going to dive into 2 quick questions. Why are team splits so high? I'll have Sarah answer that because that's appropriate. You're the owner. And then I'll answer, how much money does your top agent make on the team? So Sarah, why are team
you get
splits?
The fun question.
Yes.
Okay.
Why are team splits so high?
I think team splits are all relative, right? Like I think when you're an agent and you are shopping different teams, either in the city or there's networks of teams where you can hear, it's all about what you're getting, right? Our team, our splits are, I don't believe they're high necessarily, but you're getting a lot from it, right? So maybe if they are relatively high, you're getting a lot for that. So there's lead generation, marketing, back end support. I mean, the list goes on. And you are getting that. And I think this question that you're going to answer next will help answer this one where, yes, our splits may be high, but they are also, agents are making a good amount of money on our team.
Yes.
I think one of the things that I didn't mention is we have a lot of support, a lot of trainings, and we know what to do to be successful. And the agents who come here stay here are agents that are being successful because they know what we have and what we're doing. They do what we tell them to do.
Yeah.
They're using our systems. They're using all of the support that they have.
Well, that was the question, right?
Yeah.
So the perspective is this agent is thinking, well, the split is so high. I think you're probably asking that because you've never ran a team of your own. You're not paying out of your own pocket. So there's a lack of understanding of what kind of cost goes into even obtaining leads and obtaining administration support. And so with that being said, we took a look at numbers and I wanted to be fair and look at average. So we looked at some top producers on our team that have been here for more than, I think, 3 years, a little over 3 years for both of them. And they're making anywhere from 175,000 over 200,000. And so that just goes to show you that you can be a part of the team. And one of those agents has only been in real estate for 4 years. That's a really good income for only being in real estate for 4 years. And you're a part of a team that's giving you what kind of leverage, what kind of leads, what kind of listings, what kind of support. And so that's the big thing that I think you're talking about.
And if that agent were to go on their own, they would have less leads. They would have to pay, or they'd have to pay for the leads. So maybe they're keeping 100% of their commission, but they are also having to pay 100% of the leads, the marketing, the admin support. They would not have the systems that help them with follow-up, lead gen, marketing. We've got a whole, there's just, the list goes on. So I think the agents that are on our team that are successful, they're using everything that they have in full, have run the numbers and know that it makes sense to be here.
I have to take on this cost.
And it's not just the cost, it's the stress of it, having to figure it out all on your own. You're managing. You can be a business owner on our team because we're doing all the fluffy stuff and you get to go and be building relationships and selling homes, whereas we're doing all of the other stuff.
What is the best way to prospect for luxury listings?
That's a good question. I would say the best way to prospect for any type of clients that you would want, and let's say it's luxury listings, it's being in that network of people. You have to be around. You're not just going to get a call for a $2 million house if you don't know anybody that would have a $2 million house, right? So I think it's being in that luxury market. You have to be at the places where people who own $2 million homes are. If you want to be getting those, you have to be around them, be in their network, be in a social club that they're in. You have to elevate yourself, right? You've got to be able to have conversations with people that own those homes. You have to back it with experience. And so we've had several agents on our team who wanted to focus on that, and that's what they do because they've worked their way. They're pushing. I can think of one right now who wants to focus on that, and she is elevating her average price per home sold so she can be with those agents and speak on that behalf, right? Because a luxury agent is going to do their background research and make sure that you've actually sold a luxury home. So you've got to get your experience and you've got to be in that social network.
So good. My answer was not as good as yours.
Oh.
I was just going to say, it takes time. You can't get into this business in year one unless you are just blessed and come from that sphere of influence. I am not. So I couldn't show up in real estate and expect to have $1 to $5 million clientele. That's just not how it happens. So dress to impress, get your experience. Like Sarah said, know where those clientele are, what networks they're a part of. You can join so many networks here in the Houston greater area that the clientele are corporate minded in corporate America. that have those types of properties to where you just need one. And then something that I did with a luxury listing I had a long time ago, I made sure every opportunity I had with that client and anybody they knew, I capitalized on it. So broker open houses. I reached out to other listing agents in the area that had high price point listings as well, learned from them, collaborated with them, asked them what they're doing, because those types of properties are not going to just sell just like any other type of like average listing, right? So it was a unique learning experience for me.
Well, and then once you do a good job, they're going to refer you to their friends and family who are likely going to be luxury listings as well. Those people have. And so it does take time. It's a slow process, but experience is going to be, I would say, paramount for that.
Yep. Okay, what's one thing agents on the team do that drives you crazy but you've learned to live with? I love this question. This was an anonymous question that came from the team, one of our team members, so they probably want to know what they're doing that drives me crazy. We should have Rachel answer this because she's our director of agent success here at the Franklin team, but you know, something I can just speak to, and I wouldn't say it drives me crazy. We're all human, and so there's this human nature about us that we want to create excuses for things. And so sometimes I do believe that puts a ceiling on agents' capabilities. And because when we are trying to hold agents accountable, it's an excuse. It's an excuse. And so that's just one thing I could say off the top of my head that I believe. It doesn't drive me crazy, but I think agents could be so much better if they just lost the excuses and took accountability more. But we're all human, and so I can see where sometimes,
of course,
I was or I have all this stuff going on. That's life, and in this industry, you have to figure out processes and way to manage and overcome that, because this industry is really 7 days a week at kind of all hours of the time. You have to learn how to how to overcome different things that come up. We can make an excuse for it, but actually what would be more helpful and beneficial for you is learn from it if you drop the ball, own it, and create something so it doesn't happen again.
Well, and speaking on that, I think that's great. That's one of our core values, right? Yeah. Is owning it. And I feel like our agents do a pretty good job of that, because it is a core value of ours. And a lot of our core values were developed on things that we have seen and ways that we want to improve. And we just want to be the best that we can be, right? But my answer to that would be, and this is, I don't have anybody in mind, but really just being able to find the answers to questions instead of trying to chase down different answers when a lot of times you either know the answer or you can find the answer, right? And then my other one would be just using all of our systems and to their full capability. And that's really coming from a parent standpoint, is I know that our systems are really good. We've done a really good job of getting the best systems and done a ton of research on a lot of the agents don't know what is all that in the background of what we've done, right? Like, we're constantly looking at new stuff and how can we do better? How can we find a better system if this system isn't working as great? And so everybody we know that they're out there, and those systems are great and will help them succeed. They just need to use them to their full capacity. Yeah. Approach.
What is a prospecting method that you tried that flopped hard?
Oh my goodness. We talked about this one.
We did. We, the Franklin team, opted into, I won't say the name of the actual company. There was an opportunity to get on radio and television, and we did that. And specifically because I had experience in my past that was very successful in this world. That was prior to the COVID years. And so we tried it. And it flopped. It flopped hard. And so that's my answer.
It was a lot of money spent. And I think it's not a knock on the whole radio and TV. I think it does work. I think you have to be ready to be able to, it was a lot of money, and you have to really be able to sit on it for much longer than we were willing to do. We have done really well on lead gen, and we've got a lot of that, and we get a lot of ROI on it. So we're going to put it towards the stuff that we're seeing.
Yes.
We need to make sure we have enough leads for our agents, and we did not see that one was paying off. If it were to be paying off by any amount, which was not much, I think we had maybe like one closing or two from it, but it wasn't enough to offset what we were paying.
Yes.
we decided to scrap it and put money back into the lead sources that we were getting the most out of.
Yep.
And so that's what we're always doing. We're always doing in the background. If that stuff isn't working, then we're gonna look at it and we're gonna reassess.
Yep. What's your honest take on cold calling in 2026? Is it still worth it or is it dead?
I mean, I think it could work. I think we have never been a team that does cold calling, to be quite honest. And I think this is just like any other lead gen. You want to do open houses, you want to do for sale by owners, you want to go after and cold call. I think figuring out what you're doing and what you're going to do, but you have to be all in. You can't, and I think we've talked about this before, you can't just do one and do it for a little bit and expect it to work and then go, which is kind of contradicts what we just said on the radio. But we realized it was such an outlay and money spent that we weren't going to do that for much longer than we needed to. So cold calling is great. Does it really work? I don't know for sure. I would think it does, but you have to be consistent. You have to be willing to be hung up on and cussed at, and just like door knocking. I mean, that's a very, I would say, an antiquated way to go about it, but people have success. And I would imagine cold calling has success. It's just going to be a lot of calls.
Yeah. I'm going to split my answer into arguing both sides. Is it worth it? I could see where it's worth it because not a lot of people are still doing it. And so there's probably a lot of opportunity if you're willing to have.
Are you sure people aren't doing it? I get so many spam calls. So many cold calling.
From realtors?
Not from realtor. Well, I don't answer if it says spam, but
That's what
I do get a lot of texts.
I get a lot of
from
roofing,
realtors.
like
I get texts saying, are you interested in selling?
I have the cash offer type of things.
Yeah.
The reason why I'm splitting it, because I was trying to give some sort of like support for it. I don't know. I look at it as if I value my time and if I'm a maximizer and I want to put as much effort into something that's going to convert, is that going to be from my sphere of influence or is that going to be from cold calling? And not suggesting that you couldn't get it from cold calling, but like you were saying, I'm going to focus on my relationships and my networking and my social media, and people know me and they're going to send business to people they like, know, and trust. And so I don't know if it's worth it. I think you can ask 10 different people. They're going to give you 10 different answers. Personally, if I had to today, somebody said, you're dying, Danielle, you have to give me an answer. I don't know if I'm doing cold calling in 2026.
I agree. I am not doing it. Yeah. And I have never done it, so it's really hard for me to answer. But we've had more success from a team, from all of us in our experience, not doing it. So it's hard for us to answer because I've never actually cold called. I've cold called people before.
Yeah.
I didn't realize I was cold calling. I thought I'd been introduced, and it's not fun. You know, that's not, I don't have that in me because I'd much rather build relationships.
Same.
So, but could we in the future, I'm not saying have an inside sales agent who wanted to do that and who was successful at it? We could potentially look at that. I'm not saying that it's dead in 2026. It's not the way we as a team and all of us personally do it.
Yep.
You know?
Ooh, this is a good one. What do you wish agents understood about what leadership actually does behind the scenes? This is like our opportunity to shine.
There we go.
You guys asked, so we will deliver. What do I wish that the agents actually knew? My personal answer, and this is one I was sharing with Rachel before the podcast episode. She's, again, over all of our retail agents on our team. Every conversation I've had with leadership, it is focused around helping the agents grow, helping the agents' production. What can we give to better help the agents? What do they need? I've never been a part of a conversation in leadership here at the Franklin team that is not centered around the agent. And I want to make that very clear because I can see how things changes on a team. We do changes, process implementations, new technology. We're such a large team. We have different SOPs and we have different standards. And so sometimes if you're not a part of all these conversations and the process of how did we get here and what's the why behind it, where is this change coming from, as an agent, I can understand sometimes a limited perspective of like, whoa, that feels like out of left field. That's never the heartbeat behind anybody. And that's what I love about our culture. I love about our leadership team. So I just wanted to say that very explicitly, that this leadership team, to Bree, to Carrie, to myself, to Rachel, to Sarah and Andrew, every conversation, every decision we are making, we're making it with the agent's in mind, not Sarah and Andrew, not leadership, with the agent in mind. And I wish people would understand that.
I think that's a really good response. I think that, and that's
It's
very
honest.
very honest, better than what I would have said. I think for you guys, I don't feel this from Andrew and I's perspective enough, because they know that, we have other, opportunities that we're working and stuff. So I don't ever think that. Hopefully nobody thinks that about us. But I think for you ladies, I would love for people to understand that you guys are busy and your calendar, y'all have meetings, and it's not like you're just sitting back waiting for somebody to call to help them with something. There's a lot going on in the background. I can't imagine any real agent who knows all of us knows that that's not the case, that you guys aren't doing stuff and working for the agent. But there's a lot that goes into the team. I mean, I think sometimes when people ask, oh, the splits are high. Yes, the splits are high, but there's also all of this stuff in the back end. And there's so much admin support. There's so much marketing. There's all the listings that have been done, all the transactions. There is a lot of people, but there's also, we don't have a plethora of too many people, right? And so everybody we're lean and we're
strong.
Like amazing,
Yes,
amazing team. And so anyways, I just think that you guys are so busy and are in meetings and always wanting to help. But sometimes there's also like, you guys have stuff y'all are doing too. So I think that would be only keeping that in mind for the leadership team, is that there is stuff. They're not just sitting around waiting on calls.
It's good. Okay. Is there, or has there been a listing or a deal that almost broke you? There's been a lot of clients that have pushed me to cry and pushed me to like tell my husband, like, I want to quit. This is terrible. Like this, but I can't think of anything that was so bad that it like pushed me and broke me. But I understand the question, because there are moments in this business that do feel like they push you to a limit to where you are just emotionally, because you work so hard of this like outpouring of emotions, managing expectations, jumping all these hurdles, putting time and effort, and it's gotten longer. I can see where people, they get out or they break or they're like, I'm done. I hate this. But I can't think of anything specifically where a listing or a deal almost broke me. I have had listings where I have what quote unquote failed. I've not been able to sell. Those are challenging, just as being like somebody that wants to always achieve and win and do what I say I can do. Those are hard to swallow sometimes.
Well, of course. And everyone's going to have those.
Yeah.
And anyone who says they don't have any that don't sell, they're not being honest. But that doesn't always break us. Is it disappointing? Does it not sit well because you could have done it? I mean, sometimes that happens, right? That's just like in a normal job. You're not able to always, no, we're not perfect.
Yes.
However, I would say the ones that come to mind and like the common characteristics of ones that almost broke me, I would say is probably the ones where they're not respectful of me or of my profession and didn't appreciate what we have done for them, right? So they almost, I don't know if it's some people can look down upon or they think they know better, but it honestly has always come down to, is the person being respectful? And I've done this for a long time. And so as soon as I start not being respected is when I'm like, I'm out. I used to be more broken, like hurt, and took it as a woe is me. And now I'm just, no, like I deserve better. And we're not a good fit. And sometimes you're just not going to be a good fit, But I wouldn't say there was ones broken. I mean, there were times where it's very stressful and it stresses me out because, we do well and we want to do well. And it's not fun if somebody doesn't think that we've done well or that we don't care. But the broken ones are when somebody isn't respectful, I think.
I agree. Okay, if it weren't for real estate, if you weren't in real estate, Sarah, what would you be doing? I'm so interested to know this.
Oh, I don't even know because I've always been in real estate. What would I be doing? The first thing that came to mind is not what I would be doing because I know it wouldn't work, but I would have said like a stay-at-home mom or something,
Okay.
but that's just not realistic. I don't think I could ever really be a stay-at-home mom, but that's just the thing that comes to mind because it's summer and I feel like I'm a stay-at-home mom. If I weren't in real estate, what would I be
Retweet.
doing?
Retweet.
I know. Oh goodness. I've always really enjoyed like it would have to be something personable, like being with people. In what kind of avenue, I don't know. But I remember before I became an agent, I realized that early on that being at a desk and in a desk job was not something that I really enjoyed. And that's part of, I know it's a necessity in every job, so I do it. But I make sure that I'm not like sitting behind a desk all the time.
day.
But if I wasn't doing that, I think there would somehow be around maybe housing, like, interior design is always something fun. I don't know if I'm necessarily that great at it, but I always find
I
it
think
very
you are.
interesting. I mean, I've had
Your
people that help
house is-
me.
okay.
I've had
I was
people
like-
help me. That was not all me.
Okay.
I mean, I did like say yes to it, but so I think something like that, but I
Okay,
don't know.
that's awesome.
I mean, I do like clothes. And so, I mean, when I was younger, I thought, oh my gosh, designing clothes or something like that.
Like a stylist. or-
Yeah, that would be fun.
You could totally
I mean,
do that.
I would hope I could do that. I don't know. But what is your answer? That's so fun.
It is fun because I thought the exact same thing. My husband, there's days and moments where I'm like, I just want to stay at home. Like, this is crazy. He's like, I love you. I know you. You could not do that.
I know. Me neither.
I will say, because I recently was on maternity leave, and it was the greatest thing and such a blessing that you and Andrew give that to your employees, and it was awesome. But there comes a time for me, because not everyone's like this, where I was like, okay, like I needed something to pursue outside of my
For yourself.
sweet baby boy. Yeah.
Yes.
So if I wasn't in real estate, I for sure would be in ministry in some capacity. I don't know what specifically, because I've never had that option or opportunity, but I definitely see somewhere like maybe marriage ministry, something like that. So I would love to do that with Eric. I think that'd be fun.
That's so awesome.
Yeah.
I love that. Well, maybe you can help minister my husband and I at some point. I mean, not like
Yeah,
we
we'll have
need
you
it,
over.
but I love that. That's
Yeah.
so cool. I didn't know that.
What's one habit that's non-negotiable for you every single day?
Every single day?
Every single day.
I know my answer.
Okay.
Mine is doing something active. It's not always been a thing for me. And I try to work out 4 to 5 times a week, exercise. And on the days I'm not, because I really don't want to push my body to do what I'm doing every single day. I don't think that's possible, really, or good for me. I'm sure it's possible, but and if not, I'm doing like something, I go on a long walk or, a bike ride.
You're always
But
active.
I'm always trying to be active. And I'm also trying to be more active I was not like that when I was younger. My kids are at that age where they're very impressionable. They like to go, they still want to hang out with us. So they want to go on walks. They want to do that. But it's the non-negotiable for me is the exercise, being active in some form or fashion. But I do work out. I have a routine, and I found over the last couple of years of really making it a routine is that my mind is better. I'm more like on top of things. And I just feel like it's my one time to be just for myself.
Yes.
And so that and coffee.
I know I did think about like non-negotiable in the morning, first thing, cup of coffee.
Yes.
I will say I thought about this professionally and then personally. Personally is my quiet time. It's not always perfect. It doesn't always look the same. I can't always get the same amount of time, but I find when I'm not in the Word, I'm very off. So I always make that a non-negotiable daily. And then professionally speaking, if a lot of the leadership members would probably hear this and laugh, I'm a time blocker. And it is every morning I look at it. I know what I have on my calendar. I time block my personal things like drive time. I remember when
Same.
I was going on appointments for you and Andrew, it's like I time blocked my hour drive because I needed to focus on when I was in the car, when was I on appointments, when was I in the car, when's my admin time. I just think if it's not on the calendar, it doesn't exist. Like we have a paper calendar at the house too. And Eric thinks it's crazy because he'll be like telling me when he's traveling. I'm like, no, go put it on the calendar so I don't forget.
This is like a commercial, like what you just said. I'm about to sound like a commercial for the skylight calendar. Do y'all not have that?
No,
y'all
we
need
don't.
that.
Okay.
You'll need it when Parker is doing
Activities.
more activities, but each kid has a calendar, and that's how I am. My husband says something, I'm like, calendar,
No,
don't even
yes.
tell me. You're wasting your breath. Just put it on the calendar.
I don't know how anybody operates without some sort of like,
You know what you should be doing is you should teach, because time blocking is paramount for agents because they are their own boss. They don't have a person telling them when they need to be here and when they need to be there. It's kind of like a learning curve that they have to do. Yeah. You could be teaching time blocking and what you do and how you do it. I remember years and years ago, Jennifer Hernandez, who's a realtor, a lender, she taught a bunch of realtors on how to time block. She was very big on that too. And I had already done it, but I was very intrigued. Like I've always done that as well. Everything goes on the calendar so much to where like I'm exercising,
Yes.
I'm going to run to the store. But you could do that. You could do a lesson on that for them.
I'd love that. I'm color coded. I do like hours
Yes.
of to-dos. I give myself time because I know that things happen and I will get a call from one of my people that I support and like it may blow up my hour that I was supposed to be doing this. So I have like a weekly 2 hour of like to-dos. I have a weekly rocks like hour because if I don't have it on my calendar, it's so easy to just skip right over
sure.
it. So, okay. The last two questions were from Instagram followers that reached out to us and they wanted to know if you were buying today, what would you prioritize in a home that most would overlook?
Most would overlook.
I don't know if anybody would mostly overlook it, but personally, I would focus more on the unchangeable factors. Like we talked about this, like the location and the layout and the land and the things that you can't change.
Yes.
Like if you're buying this, like unless you decide to add on, like you can't change the layout. Right now we have a client that a lot of the feedback is something about location. Like you can't pick up the home and move it. And so I always just think about those big L items, location, layout, and land, to me is what I would focus on. That I don't know if everyone's overlooking it.
I don't think anybody overlooks that. And I can't really answer to overlook, but I think prioritizing those, and I think it all depends on, like, you would have a different answer than I would. Like, the priority, it depends on your personal situation, right? Like, I have a client who is a new client, and he is prioritizing schools because obviously, I mean, there's a small chance that those can change, right? But very unlikely in a lot of districts, right? Like, he wants to be in a good district.
Yeah.
But his is commute to work. He is moving to Houston from a smaller town, and he knows how Houston has traffic, and he wants to be 30 to 45-minute drive, which I'm like, haven't talked to him about particularly, but like 30 to 45 minutes in traffic or without traffic, right? Like, because that's going to change if he's going normal times.
Ooh, traffic's a really good one.
Yeah.
That probably buyers
but that's
overlook.
location, right? That's like location.
But maybe not commute. Like maybe commute is something that a buyer's like, oh, this location I love. But then it's like, well, hold on. It looks like it's 12 miles from my office, but what does that mean for commute?
Traffic.
That's a really good point.
So I pretty much just said his office is going to be I-10 and Highway 6. And I'm like, Katie, you have to be in Katy. Like you could go to Richmond, you could go to Cypress, but that's going to make a further drive, you know? And I explained to him that in Katy, Katy's huge. And if you're more East Katy, you're going to be much quicker to the office, but those homes are older. If you're West Katy, the homes will be newer, but you are way in those neighborhoods. And so that's going to sometimes could add 20 minutes just before you get to I-10, you know? So you have to kind of factor that in. But I think it's different for everybody. And I try to tell people, what are your musts?
Yes.
His also must, which I hadn't heard in a while, was fireplace. You know, in Houston, which honestly, I would have never.
Wait, his must was a fireplace.
His wife's must is a fireplace, I'm sure. And, you know, for me, I'm like, interesting. But I don't know what it is. As I've gotten older, I want the fireplace on all the time.
You know what I was going to say? So
I love it.
Don't you and Matt have a bedroom with the kids on the same level?
Yes.
Okay. We bought our home and, our first home was a 1-story, so same level. And without kids. Now we have the 2 stories, all bedrooms are upstairs, our master is downstairs. I said buying this house, I was like, I would never want to be on the same level as our kids again. Now having little, so I wish we were on the same level. Like, so it is funny how
Dude, you don't want
circumstances
your
change.
little kids walking down the stairs in the middle of the night when they're scared.
Oh yeah,
You know?
no, we've ingrained in Parker. You stay in the room and you holler.
Yeah.
But
Wait
my
till they're
point
older.
is like what you think in one season of life is important. It changes, and so it's interesting. I just love the
But no,
conversation.
you're right, because I didn't want that. I was like, I've been taught the master's on the first floor because it's a very Southern thing, and the kids are upstairs.
It's very Southern, yeah.
Very
Because
Southern.
in Colorado where we lived, like it
In
doesn't.
California,
It's not like that.
I mean, it's, land is expensive,
Yes.
so you're usually all on the same floor, and usually you're up.
Yes, that's how it is in Colorado.
But I was like, okay, I can do, while we're designing the home, I can do with them up. I just want them on the other, like, separate to where they're not. But even then, like, you have to, they're really close to each other. Would I do that again? No. So, there's like, nothing's perfect, right?
All right. The last one is the biggest misconception in the Houston market right now, and what are savvy buyers doing differently? So you want me to answer first?
Well, sure.
Okay. I was telling you before we came into the podcast, the biggest misconception in the Houston market right now is I think the idea of still that this is a seller's market. From what I'm experiencing and what we're seeing within our team at the volume we're seeing it, I don't see where we're in a seller's market. And I think you made a good point. It's not necessarily a buyer's market either, but it's a balanced market. And so I do see savvy buyers are doing their research. And you were talking about that as a lot and had a good point on that.
Yeah. So I don't think it's sellers or buyers market. I think it's more of a balanced market, which in Houston, a balanced market is usually about 6 months worth of inventory, which is where we're at. And with that, buyers are doing a lot more research. They are doing their home searches, getting their qualifications, and they're coming in lower, like we talked about. They're coming in with concessions. They're negotiating more than they would have years ago during COVID time, where they were having to make quick decisions and move quickly.
Yes.
I think for a seller, that means they need to have their home staged well, which we provide. They need to have photography, the best photography, which we provide, and understand how pricing and being strategic on pricing, when to hit the market, how to price it. That all comes from having really good representation, which our team is. And then buyers, savvy buyers they're doing that same research, but they are listening to those expert realtors on guiding them through the process.
Yeah.
Like you were mentioning earlier, when we have a co-op and we see the other side is being represented by an agent who maybe doesn't always have their best interest in mind, or doesn't really know how to negotiate or guide that buyer, their expectations, whatever, who you work with matters. And so I think that's very important. I think buyers are doing their research on who their agent can help, how they can help, and who is the expert in that area or in the industry.
I totally agree. It's about making sure your agent actually is qualified, knows what they're doing, and is trained like our agents are here on the Franklin team. Because it's a scary thing when you're on the opposite side and you're like, wow, that poor client, they have no idea that their agent has because we are communicating with that co-op, like you said. The last thing I wanted to say about the biggest misconception in the Houston market is that the house is going to sell right away. Back to being that balanced market, setting different expectations on how long this process actually takes on the sell side, I think is important, because I'm thinking back to recently, we just came through the spring, the busy season of selling season in summer. There are homes that won't sell or that will just take longer because of all the new construction out here and the builder incentives, and because buyers are doing their research. So I think it's a misconception to think, I'll just list my house in the spring and it will sell. It's like, hey, it just takes longer right now. And you need to have a really strong listing agent who's representing you, that knows how to market, knows how to think outside the box, knows how to handle your direct competition, and knows the area to sell your home. So,
yep. Totally.
Awesome. Well, do you want to do the plug for?
Yes. Okay. So we just totally revamped our website, the Franklin Factor podcast. We'll link it below. So check it out. We're so excited. Thank you so much for listening to season 3. We'll be back for season 4 soon.
Yeah. Thanks for tuning in.